Hey everybody, Skinny K here, and today I'm gonna talk to you about my favorite vampire movie ever. I'm not a big vampire fan. My second favorite one is Fright Night, with Chris Sarandon being the vampire. But the first one is The Lost Boys from 1987. Oh my god, what a great movie is this! It gets a 7.2 on IMDb. It gets a 9.5 from me. If I even want to almost give it a 10. It's such a fun. It's a horror comedy, but it's so fun, and there are creepy moments in there, but oh, and beautiful moments in there, nice moments in there, and funny moments in there. Yeah, you've got the director Joel Schumacher, a prolific director, Batman and Robin, 8 millimeter, and such. You got a list on actors that made it big. Jason Patrick, he plays Michael, and Corey Haim, he plays Sam, that's his brother, and the mom is played by Diane Wiest. Don't know her, but I recognize her face from movies. She plays the mom Lucy. And then you have got their grandpa. For some weird reason, they never reveal his name. It's just everybody calls him grandpa. Lucy calls him grandpa, or she calls him dad, but the kids call him grandpa. Um, you've got Edward Herman as Max, the video store owner. I mean, video stores. Oh, the time that we could go to a video store and select our favorite videos. The covers of where's that time. It's such a pity for us, movie fans, not only horror fans, but I went straight to the horror section. Oh, what's new. Some of these video stores, you had video stores that were more obscure and had more, the videos that you don't find in every the standard horror franchise, like Friday 13, Halloween, Child's Play, yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street. But he had like video stores that had like the Death trilogy from George A. Romero, and all those independent slashers like Intruder, like uh, My Bloody Valentine, and so forth and so on. I love that era. I'm really sad that that just got destroyed by just rented on TiVo or whatever you call it. In we call it Telenet, and we just order a movie online. Fuck man, that's just Kiefer Sutherland as the prolific vampire David. I mean, this guy, Kiefer Sutherland. You can't get a better actor for this role. I bought me recently a figurine. I'm also a geek, first class. I collect my collectibles. I collect signed autographs. Comic books, action figurines, but I never open it. I just keep it in the sealed box because in my mind, those things rise in worth at some point in time. That's actually, I mean, I've got thousands and thousands of dollars up in my man cave, basically, of figurines and other collectibles. Um, so I really wanted David, and I got myself a David. He's 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 cool. He's like he's trying to seduce you to come to their
I
side,
can't
and he
beat your
does a
bike.
great
You don't have
job
to
in
beat me,
doing
Michael.
that. But at the same
You just
time,
have to try and keep up.
I mean, he has that look in his face. I mean, from pure evil. At the same time, I can't explain it. Has that look constantly through the movie, that he's basically watching you and watching right through you, and constantly keeping his eyes on you, and then he of course tries to you know ha- you think they have a feud with Michael because he's in love with this girl Star that he saw, played by Jamie Gertz. Don't know her from anything, but Star isn't the girlfriend of David. No, 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 no. She's a, let's say, a vampire acolyte, which means this is a spoiler review for everybody who wants to see this. If you do not want to know more, go and watch this movie. I gather you will not be disappointed at all. I 110% guarantee you. You've got, like I said, Star, and she's at some point uh, they she's not a full vampire yet. Let's say a half vampire. She needs to feed basically to become a vampire. And at some point, this also happens with Michael. Michael eventually is seduced by these guys who are, in this. They're living in this old abandoned hotel. One of the vampires is played by Alex Winter, and his name is Marco, and he's like kind of the right hand of David. Uh, you might recognize him from. I recognize him from Bill and Ted with their crazy adventures that they had. I remember the broskies, the bromance that they had. Fun movies back then. He's one of the vampires. And then, of course, last but not least, the Frog Brothers. Oh my god. Corey Feldman, you were an icon. Nowadays, he's a little bit loopy, but I mean, uh, and he was Edgar Frog and Alan Frog, the brothers Frog, the vampire hunters, basically. They all go to Santa Cruz, and it's the Myrtle. So Lucy and her boys, after the divorce, go to Santa Cruz where her dad is living, and she wants to live there for a while until they get back, up on their feet. What I wanted to tell you about Corey Feldman is he kind of disappeared after the Burbs. I saw that movie yesterday. It's one of my favorite uh, comedies of Tom Hanks because it's also a horror comedy. A little bit horror, but not too much. But it's a fun movie, and Corey Feldman in that one, I think that's the oldest movie that I seen him in because I never watched the sequels of these. Sequels of these are bad shit crazy. They're fucking bad, and that's it. They're fucking bad. And I know at some point in the last movie, it's all with Corey Feldman, and I believe at the last movie, Alan Frog comes back, the real actor from this one, and at the very, very, very end of the scene, you see on a beach Corey Feldman. He's standing there, and in front of him is Corey Haim, and he's a vampire now. So basically, Lucy and her entire family are vampires or killed. It's very bleak ending, and it doesn't completely destroys this movie that I'm talking about. This movie isn't bleak. This movie is hopeful. You've got a crazy good relationship, Michael with Sam. There are a few moments when, he's saying when they see that room with all the stuffed animals. His brother says
talk about the Texas
it looks
Chainsaw
like
Massacre.
the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then Sam is like, he's like putting his head. I mean, they're constantly making fun of each other, and there's a moment when Michael, of course, is now, because he drank the blood of David, he's now a half vampire, semi vampire, what you want to call it, and he's then sitting there with his sunglasses on, and then Sam comes in and he says, "Are you freebasing, Michael? Inquiring minds want to know." And then he's like, "It's just."
Are you
I mean,
freebasing?
that's.
Inquiring minds want
I
to know.
never had a really good relationship with my brother. We were fighting all the time. It wasn't like this. These two guys, they're they. It looks like they hate each other, but they love each other really hard. Because there's this. So basically, then they come to Santa Cruz, and you see this. It's you got the billboard of now entering Santa Cruz, and at the back, the number one murder capital of the United States, of the world. I don't know what it was. Number one murder capital. And you see that there's a lot of vagrants and things like that. And Michael at some point asks for a job, and he says, "Are there jobs here?" "Nothing legal," the guy says. Okay.
Is there any jobs around
There's a
here?
moment that
Nothing
Lucy
legal.
gives money, says to Sam, "Go give this money to these kids so they can get something to eat, because they're fucking rummaging the through the garbage." It's almost like all the action is on this boardwalk, right? And the movie immediately starts with David and his gang of vampires, and they're constantly on the boardwalk, and they have these motorcycles, these choppers or whatever, these fast motorcycles, and they're just jumping on this Ferris wheel, and they start to. There's another gang, and there's this feud between them, and but the gang isn't vampires, but he's like, "I know I got your number, bitch. I got your number." Then he gets choked by the security guard. He said, "I told you I don't want you on the boardwalk. Now get the hell out of here, and you too." To the other people, eventually they get fucked up by the vampire, by David and his crew. They just break after stealing comic books from a local comic store where the Frog Brothers work. After they just they can fly. You know that they can fly. You never see them flying, but you see them POV style flying towards the roof of the car. They pull off the roof, and then they pull out the jackass and the girlfriend of the jackass who was on the first wheel. They also kill the security guard at some point. He wants to he takes his door, but they rip him just with the door and all off in the sky. You don't see a lot of gore, but there's one really gory moment. It's the moment where they basically say to Michael, "You've got to feed. Now you know what we are," but he knows what
Now you know what we
you
are.
know what they were. I mean,
Now you know what
he's
you
not
are.
stupid. And
You
there's
never
this
grow old, Michael.
group of, and it's the first time when you
You'll
see
never
their
die.
vampire face, their fucked up vampire face.
But you must feed.
And they, at some point, there's this group of, and there's really good music soundtrack of this movie. First of all, the song where the movie, I think the movie starts with is "You shall not fall," and then "Cry for me, sister. Come to your brother." Unchain Me Sister. I mean, that song is so cool. Every song. Then they have the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Uh, got this way. Got this. Yeah, you know that dun 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 dun. Got this way. You know that song. So this group of punkers, you know, they're dancing, and then David and his crew just go at it, and you see them biting in the guy's head, blood squirting around, arms being ripped apart, heads being ripped off, and that's the only moment actually in the movie where you see gore. The really horrifying moment. They kill 10 of these guys, and then they say, and Michael is getting the fucked up eyes, you know, and he starts to become more that fucked up face that they have, and then he says no. He jumps off the tree and falls, and then David says, you will never grow old, you never grow tired, and you can have a lot of fun, but you need to feed. And that's what, and then he does this all right, does this from the blood, licking the blood away. It's a really cool moment. I know I'm all over the place here, but they're just cool moments that I'm not gonna go in depth with this one, too in depth. I really like in depth reviews, but I know they can. But in the end, it probably is gonna be in depth. But the Frog Brothers also, I always, okay, they're working in this comic books shop, and then Corey Haim, Sam comes in, and they're they're following him because they don't know him, and then he is wearing this awful, like, it looks like female wardrobe. It's like this jacket. I mean, is it because Lucy is a hippie, right? She's a real hippie, and the grandpa is also a hippie. Michael was almost called Moonbeam, but they just decided to keep it simple, Michael and Sam. But is it because he's a hippie, or is it because it was a style back then? But, and then the Frog Brothers are behind him and saying,
just scoping your civilian ward.
Sam says, "Do we have a problem,
cool, huh?
boys?" Just to
For a fashion victim.
just
Listen,
scoping your civilian wardrobe. It's cool, right? If you're a fashion victim, okay. But it's those two guys. It's great, and you have, I think they're parents. I'm not sure. Two a man and a woman. They're laying next to each other. They're sleeping, and they're just from smoking pot. It's a weed. Are these the parents of Frog Brothers? I don't know. But they want to help him, and they say, "Did you recognize?" So they're telling you, "Did you see something weird in this town?" Like what? Vampires? Vampires? Yeah. Here, take this comic book. He gives him a vampire comic book. I don't like horror comic books. I like my Supermans, and no, read this. You may need this. We put our number in the back, so but pray, you never have to use that number. And then he says,
There's a number on the back.
I'll pray.
And
I'll
pray.
You have to
You never
use
need
that
to call
number.
us.
But he's being sarcastic. It's
I'll
just
pray.
fun. It's so fun.
I never need to call
and-
you.
Yeah.
Sure.
But that's what I say. The Corey Haim, it's a sad story. And Corey Feldman, I mean, I guess they both got sexually abused. I mean, what's with that actor that just came back from The Mummy? I just can't remember his name. Very popular at some point. He was also sexually abused, and he had got depressed, and now he came back, and The Whale or something that he did. That's a very sad story, but he got an Oscar for that. He ballooned himself up for that role. It's but I can't remember the name of the actor, but he's now coming back, and he immediately gets an Oscar or an award, and you know, apparently, but the Corys, it's you know that's a stupid reality show that they did, the two Corys reality. They said it was scripted for half of it, but they also said half of it wasn't scripted. And apparently, the some of the arguments between the two Corys were real. Corey Haim was addicted to drugs because he wanted to, of course, use drugs to get off, you know, to forget all the shit that happened to him. And then eventually he OD'd, and maybe he killed himself. He OD'd of drugs. And Corey Feldman nowadays he's coming out with saying I'm being sexually abused. But Corey Feldman is also kind of weird. He's wanting to be this Michael. He's singing, and it's bad songs and weird songs, and he wants to be a Hugh Hefner type guy, and he's there with his bunnies, living in his villa and the bunnies, and then he wants in his music songs the bunnies are always there, and he wants to be also a Michael Jackson kind of ripoff in his moves, and looking like a Marlon Manson kind of guy. He's weird. Yeah, I think first of all, the Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, especially Corey Feldman, they got extremely. I mean, the 80s, especially Corey Feldman, were the best years. This boy, made Friday the 13th, the final chapter, the Goonies, the Burbs, the Lost Boys. I know that after this movie, is it 80s or just beginning 90s, that the two Coreys make a comedy movie. I never saw it, but they say it's not that good. But they were constantly, you know, they were like child stars, right? And Stand By Me. I mean, that's also Corey Feldman. But in any case, the Frog Brothers are just legendary. If yeah, there's also this moment when Sam, you know, he's reading the comic, he starts to know things, and that they, you know, they don't have an image in a mirror of themselves, and then Sam sees his brother before. Was it before? He's got a dog that looks like our dog, Chica. Chica, it's about you. Yes. She's called Nanook. Here she is. You see this Nanook. I mean, that's also a kind of hippie name, but I love Nanook because at some point, Michael, Jason Patrick, wants to. He wants to get to Sam, who is in his bath. Lucy's out with Max because she got a job from Max. Well, you got Nanook. And he's running the video store. And she's going out for dinner with him. But then, because something happened, so Michael comes through the door, but Nanook is ready and attacks Michael. Because dogs in this movie, as for the vampires and as for the humans, are protectors. And Max also has a dog. What's his name? He's walking around. He's in his video store. He's being friendly, But at some point, Lucy comes towards Max because when when Michael attacked the dog, he goes and see what happened. What happened? Sam goes and see what happened. What happened? And then he sees, oh, look in the mirror. You don't have a reflection, Michael. My own goddamn brother is a goddamn shit-sucking vampire. Wait till Mom sees this. It's just great. It's
Reflection
just
in the
great.
mirror.
A goddamn shit-sucking vampire. Yeah. Oh, it's so great. And he said, "No, Sammy, no."
Creature of the night, Michael.
Going behind.
Just like out of a comic book.
And at some point, he's
You're a
also
vampire, Michael.
levitating.
My own brother, a
and
goddamn
he's-
shit-sucking vampire.
and
Oh, you wait till Mom finds
no,
out, buddy.
Sam's calling his mom for. That's why Lucy just runs away from her dinner date with Max. She goes home to check on because Sam's like, "Help me, Mom! Help me! He's gonna kill me!" And then, like I said, Michael is levitating and he's trying to. He gets a phone from his room. No, he's just being stupid. Mom, don't stay there. I got it covered. No, and eventually he says, Sam says, "Be gone, or creature of the night." And then he says, "I'm your brother, Sammy. I'm your brother. Let me in." And then he eventually lets him in, and he says, "Don't hurt me, Mike. Don't hurt me." And then he eventually he hugs him. He says, and there's, like I said, there's constant this love between these two brothers. And then I would think, "Come to me, sister." That song, you constant song that is so cool. That unchain me, sister. Love is with your brother, and you would think that's maybe but it's brother and sister. So here is brother and brother. I would be a reference towards these two guys, Michael and Sam. But yeah, Lucy comes and eventually Sam lies and said he read a horror comic and he got scared, and Michael is already asleep, and yeah, and so Lucy's kind of angry, of course. And then there's this moment, and then you realize, so we all think David is the head vampire, right? And we know from all the horror movies, if you kill the head vampire, you get back to your human self, right? Now, David is a head vampire, but not the head vampire. And it's actually something that they sort of ruin it halfway, in my opinion. If you could think a little bit and you know a little bit about these vampires, Max is going for a dinner date, their second dinner date at their home, and Sam thinks Max is a vampire, and the Frog Brothers say, "Okay, let's we'll scope him out, invite us to that dinner party." So they're also at that dinner party, and but there's this moment when Michael is standing in front of the door and Max is standing for the door, and he says, "You would be Michael," and he gives him a hand. He doesn't want to give him a hand because he looks at him and he knows. Michael knows that he's a vampire. He knows that he's a vampire because he says, "Well, you're the man of the house. I will not come in if you don't invite me in." Boom, there you got it. You're invited, he says. Really.
How you doing? You must be Michael,
kind of
right?
way. And now he has full entrance
you
to that
must be
house.
Max.
It's the same like in
Right.
Fright Night with Chris Sarandon when his mom invites him in. Now he can get in every time he wants. Vampires need to
you're
be
the man of the house,
invited in a house
and I'm
to
not
be
coming in until
complete,
you invite me.
and then they have full
You're invited.
immunity because they're
Thanks very
basically
much.
shredding pure garlic, making it out like cheese because they're eating spaghetti with cheese, and then they give him the ball, and he's like, and it's just, you don't like it, right? Yeah, yeah, you don't like it, right?
They hate
No,
garlic,
no,
don't-
I like garlic, but it's
just
raw
too
garlic.
much.
And
Raw
then they
garlic.
immediately do something else. Pull, they pull a glass of holy water that came from the Frog Brothers, and he's like, is it hot? No, it's freezing cold. And then the light goes out, and then they holding, and the light goes back on. It's like, ah. Max is like, ah. There's a mirror in front of his face. But the reason why these tricks aren't working is because, like I said, when he's invited, he's basically immune. And yeah. And I like that. That's a funny moment. That's a really funny moment. Yeah. Then of course you got the end scene where the vampire basically so first of all they go with the Frog Brothers because Star and Michael have a relationship at this point. They had sex. There's a boy named Laddie who's also a semi-vampire, and they're always sitting on the back of these guys' motorcycles. Star is always sitting with David, and Laddie with this other guy. And I believe one of these guys is in a rock band, a known rock band. I am not sure. And they're always cruising around with them. Oh, and there's one guy you should know in this. He is so 80s, but so weird 80s. That song what he's playing is cool. I'll teach this road. I'll make you run. Something like that. The sax guy. Remember the sax guy? That guy with the saxophone, the muscle-bound guy, all oiled up, and he's that song that he's playing. He's super cool, and everybody's headbanging. I mean, the way that song is really great because the guy is called Timmy something, and he played with Tina Turner, and yeah, he is a prolific saxophone player and singer, and Timmy, Jesus Christ, Raffaello or something, yeah, something like that. It's he's great, and with that hair complete long, you know. It's such a great. The Nook. It's such a great movie. I mean, it's such a great character. I mean, he's so fun. It's a fun moment, and he's there where Michael sees Star, and he's immediately in love with her. But that's because Star is a vampire, and you know vampires seduce you, and if they seduce you, they have you in their claws. But for some reason, Star doesn't want to kill because David ordered Star to kill Michael to become the vampire, right? But eventually, Star doesn't want to kill him because she grows fond of him. Like I said, they have sex at some point, and David sees something in Michael. And I think it's because of the fact that Max, being the head vampire, because he gets visited by these David and his gang in the video store, and he said, I told you I'd never want to see you here, okay? I told you that. And it's like, okay, it's like the security guards. No, it's because Max is his dad. Max is the head vampire. So that's, like I said, it's a spoiler. Boop. Because he says that, but it's so obvious throughout the movie who's the head vampire. It's obviously Max, and the reason why he's invited, if you saw Fright Night, and if you saw the remake of Fright Night, they can't, they're immune to everything you do when they're in your house. And there's also this moment when Max is going to his house at dark, and there's all these bikes. You hear the bikes of David coming, and the lights. He sees the light. It's like doing that, and then he gets this flying this what's it called, a flapping thing that you can hold in the air. It's a vampire face, you know, with the teeth and then a happy face. So they're teasing him, but they're teasing him like children are teasing their dad, you know? It's teasing. Now, so Star, and I think that's the reason why David doesn't kill him, because Max wants a wife, basically, because he can't control his children, so he wants a wife with a new family, Michael and Sam, also to become vampires. Michael is already a half vampire. Sam has to become one. And in the very end, he says that because at the very end you have so it begins with the Frog Brothers going to the hideout, the hotel, right? The Frog Brothers go to the hotel. They want to kill Star, and Michael is like, no, leave her alone. Leave her alone. And then she says, take Laddie first, and they're taking them with them, and they're going to go to their house to make this last stand, because what they do is they're looking for the vampires, and we see that these vampires are not your typical coffin vampires, you know? They're basically hanging these weird ass fucked up bat feet, and their feet are hanging from a branch, and they're upside down, and all these guys with their long braided hair, you know, and they kill Marco, the little one first.
What was that? A little vampire humor? It wasn't funny.
David is awake, and he's like, and they get the fuck out of there, and he's chasing it. And it's such a cool moment. And just before he grabs him, the sunlight coming, and he's and then a tear is coming from his eye, and you see a tear coming from his eye, and is it because he was in pain from that flame, or because he lost Marco, one of his brothers? Maybe both. There's a tear coming out, and then he's doing that, tonight, he says. And then, you know, okay, they're fucked. If they don't, so they regroup, the Frog Brothers, Michael, Sam, they regroup. Lucy's out with Max. They regroup at their house. Nanook is there, and Laddie and Star. So they're, you know, although they're not invited, they do get in. So that invited stuff, although they do get in, but they're vulnerable to the, like I said, the garlic, holy water, because at some point there's garlic in but they say garlic doesn't work because they have these spray guns, or holy water. I think with holy water doesn't work. Okay, what do you think about a tub? And the dog flies towards this vampire and pulls him in a tub full of garlic, and that's what kills the guy. The blonde-haired vampire, then the other vampire, the black-haired, he gets killed by Sam because he wants to throw. He takes a bow and arrow. He misses. He shoots him in the shoulder, but you miss, sucker. He says, only once.
You miss, sucker.
Once, pal.
And then we get David. David basically gets Sam goes upstairs, and Sam is like, the group, we're the ultimate badasses. Yeah, the badasses in vampire hunting. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Like upstairs, and then they see Laddie coming out in a full vampire face, and Corey Feldman, Edgar Frog is like, ah, it's the attack of Eddie Munster. And they want to kill him, and then Star, not being fucked up in the face yet as a real vamp, she can still hold it and says, no, no, don't kill him, don't kill him. And then Sam says, don't kill him, and then, okay, but we need to keep aside, we need to keep watch on him. So below decks, David and Michael are having their scuffle, and it's basically a short scuffle. But he's always flying towards him and hitting him, and then he's back in the dark somewhere. Then he's flying. You see POV shots of him, and then he gets punched. And then Michael has his vampire face full on, and there's blood on his cheek, and he takes it like this, and it does. And then David is trying to convince him still that he should come with him because you're a vampire, you're a killer. And he says, I'm nothing like you. And eventually they fight. And at some point, Michael has the upper hand, but then David says, my turn. And he goes towards the Texas Chainsaw Room where all the
It's too late.
the
Blood is in your
bones
veins.
and deer heads, antlers are there.
Soul is mine.
Don't resist. Don't resist. My blood is in your body. You're my part of me. And then he says, so am I. And he throws basically David onto these antlers, piercing his heart. And of course, then we hear that song again, you shall not fall. He's sitting there. I mean, that's such great cinema, great. The soundtrack in this movie is great. And then we see, of course, when Grandpa isn't there. Now, Grandpa is also a twist ending because Max comes in. We all know he's a vampire now. He sees David, and he's kind of sorry, but kind of not, because he turns into a vampire. Everybody sees that, and he say, but we did the tests. And then he says, if you invite a vampire, silly boy, then you don't have any power over him. And then he eventually, Michael goes towards him. He knocks out Michael like it's nothing because he's a stronger, older vampire. He goes to, there was supposed to be a scene somewhere that they in the hotel find a picture, an old picture of olden times that looks like Max. So that Max is already being a vampire for hundreds of years, you know, maybe being a patriot, you know, when the Civil War, when the war against the British, you know, the Patriot War, from back then even, you know, because I saw the picture, I can't find it anymore. That's just fucked up because I wanted to use it here in this review, but they cut it out because then they reveal that he's 110% a vampire. But the fact that he's got to be invited is for me 110% fact that he's a vampire. They think because it doesn't work with the garlic, the holy water, and the mirrors, but that's just, and I notice if you see Fright Night and other vampire movies, they are sort of, when they're invited, you can't do jack shit to them. And then eventually he says, but I still want you, Lucy. I still want you. And he takes her. Come, Lucy. It's so much nicer if you
Don't fight, Lucy.
It's
so much better if you don't
her.
fight.
And then all of a sudden,
Mom, don't.
Grandpa comes in.
Mom, don't do it,
Now,
Mom.
weird
Mom,
garden
don't do it.
has
Mom, no!
like this horn that goes and he comes in with that horn, and then Max sees him, and then he shoots multiple poles that are basically pointy poles towards him, and one gets him in the heart. And then Grandpa, everybody's like, and Grandpa doesn't say, he gets off his Jeep, he passes everybody, he doesn't say jack shit to everybody, and he takes out one of his beers because there's a section of the fridge that's only for him. He takes one of his beers. The one thing I hate about Santa Cruz is those goddamn vampires. So he was also, like the Frog Brothers, a vampire hunter. How cool is that? And then the Frog Brother, Edgar Corey Feldman says to his brother, Alan Frog, how much do you think we should charge him? That's just great. I mean, this movie is great. There's nothing that this movie, I mean, I love this movie. It's one of these movies that I always, when I'm sort of depressed even, that I want to see this movie. Yeah, because, or some depressed, I mean, in this mood of seeing something funny and horrifying, but also beautiful at the same time, with beautiful music, and cool actors. Kiefer Sutherland has to be one of the most charismatic vampires out there. I mean, the way he's, following them, and that with that tear, and he's like, tonight. And, I mean, that was so cool, and he's so great. He's so great, and then that he's playing with Michael, and they're teasing him, do you like rice? And they give him rice, and then he sees it's maggots, and then they're maggots. And he says, no, they're not maggots. Look at that. And it's rice. Then they offer noodles, and he says, but they're worms. But he's like they gave him wheat, but I think it's a little bit too much wheat, and he's like, Then he eats from it, and he says, no, don't. It's just noodles, Michael. And then they give him, he says, Marco, get the drink. And he takes a drink out of this bottle, this, self-made dye do-it-yourself bottle with braids and things on and crystals, and he drinks from it, and he says, oh, here, Michael, drink this. Then everybody's Michael. And then Starry said, don't do it. It's blood. And Michael says, yeah, right. Because he doesn't believe them anymore, and he just drinks from it. And then yeah, you're one of us, pal. Yeah, they're all like, yeah. It's so cool. It's so cool. My brother, the goddamn shit-sucking vampire. Yeah. So it's a great movie. It's positives all around, good acting, perfect cast, pure 80s. I mean, with the sax guy and Corey Haim's clothing there, and the hippies, and the boardwalk is full of hippies, and then David, he's so, like I said, charismatic and creepy and seducing and cool at the same. He's just a cool vampire, and his broskies are like the perfect broskies you can have. I mean, like Alex Winter from the Bill and Ted's Crazy Adventures, and with their motorcycles. I mean, Kiefer Sutherland does a great mullet. So he's the guy with the shortest hair, but he wears a mullet pretty good. No one else try a mullet. Kiefer Sutherland had a great mullet. That was perfect for the vampire. That blonde bleached hair, perfect. It's Corey Feldman again. He's great, and his brother is also great, but he's a little bit overshadowed by Corey Feldman, of course, and Corey Haim. But they're great, and the director did a great job, a great job. But they're planning. I heard they want to reboot the shit out of this. I hope they don't, because it's gonna be shitty as hell. So rebooting means, can it be a remake or a sequel to this movie? But they already did like 2-3 sequels. I'm not sure. Shitty sequels, and they're getting worse and worse. They say the last one is not super bad, but I don't want to see it. I don't want to see Corey Haim standing there as an adult being a fucking vampire. I like this ending. This is the best ending I have. I mean, it's the best ending you get, and that's the movie. So, no complaints, not at all. There is just no complaints. No, there's not. Let's negative. Is there something negative there? Blah 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 blah. Like I said, the vampires. The only nitpick then maybe is that the vampires can come in their house without being invited. But of course, they are not. They're powerless, and they can be killed with the means that, like they tried on Max, but he was invited. So I scoffed that nitpick away. It's, and like I said, Grandpa is never named in the movie. The Michael and Sam call him Grandpa, and then Lucy calls him Dad, and that's it. Nobody, no, there's no name. If you go on IMDb and look at the name, I forgot to write his name. Under his name is just Grandpa. He doesn't have a name in the movie, not that I know of. So yeah. Any case, watch this movie. Subscribe for more horror fun. Sorry, it's free, and let me know what you think about Lost Boys. I mean, I would really love to see that in commentaries. So, see you next time, you blood-sucking fucking vampires.